through a guest lecture that Dr. Frischman gave, decided to go into entomology through his influence.
It's a bug, and it's
I
something
see what you did
about
there.
it.
I see what
The
you did there,
bug.
Jen.
Got the
It's
bug.
I like it.
When somebody has that passion for what they do for the industry, it can be contagious, right? It's sharing that excitement about the science and getting them excited about it and what they do and the importance of what they do.
I think Pat's kind of like underselling it when she says she's part of the industry. Like, let's be honest. Like, Pat Hottle's a legend.
Our guest today is Pat Hottel. Pat is a PMP Hall of Famer with 45 years experience in the pest control industry. She most recently worked for Terminix, or Rent-A-Kill Terminix, following Terminix's acquisition of McLeod, where she worked for close to 40 years. Today, Pat is still much involved with our industry. She is chairing the Purdue Planning Committee, the Purdue Conference, and she is an active member of UPMTC. This was an amazing podcast. She is a larger-than-life character in our industry, and we really hope you enjoy today's guest, Pat Hottel. How
Well,
are you?
I am well, thank you. I am doing well.
that was grandbaby time.
Grandbaby time was wonderful. We went down once he was born to Atlanta. Jen, you may not know, my son's in Atlanta, Ben Hottel, and his wife had a baby boy August 21st. And so we went down for a week then. And then I came back just last week. I was there for another week. So I've had 2 weeks of Atlanta and baby time. Very
That's
sweet.
exciting. Oh my gosh. And so where do you live, Pat?
I'm in Chicago, suburbs of Chicago.
Wow. How long have you lived there?
45 years?
Wow.
45 years, yeah.
How has
Mm.
Chicago changed over the decades?
Quite a bit. It used to be farmland, a lot of farmland where I lived in the first office. So I came up and worked for McLeod. And I was living in Florida prior to moving up here. I was working for a company called Bermuda Pest Control in Central Florida. And I didn't know that I had never been to Chicago prior to coming up here. The gangster image, right? Of Chicago. And
The hard streaks.
but they were interviewing me. I come and the office is surrounded by cornfields and, much different atmosphere. And Chicago is really a beautiful city after all. But, so moved up here from Florida. Been here ever since, raised family and got married up here. And yeah,
Are you from Florida?
I'm from New York. Long Island, yes.
Long Island.
Long Island, yeah.
Do you still have family there?
I do. I do. Yeah.
Wow.
So get back to visit family. But most of my life has been here in Illinois.
Wow.
I think that's kind of the perfect segue then, Jen, is we always kind of like to start off with tell us the Pat Hottel origin story. How did you get to where you are and what was that path like?
Yeah. So fortunate to become an entomologist through college, freshman year. Went to school at a college called State University of New York, Farmingdale, of which Austin Frischman was a professor. Went to college with biology major in mind for freshman year. And through a guest lecture that Dr. Frischman gave, decided to go into entomology through his influence and never looked back after that. Attracted to entomology for the reasons that it wasn't structural urban right away, right? That wasn't necessarily the cemented path that I was going to take. I thought, and I've heard this from other entomologists, that they were attracted to the science because of the fact that you could do agricultural entomology or horticultural entomology or medical entomology or forensics. Wide range forestry was a big thing in New York, as well, for many students going to Syracuse. So the variety of options that presented themselves through entomology and overlapping science. So it's not just one science, let's say, but you have entomology and something else. Of course, Dr. Frischman was very tied to structural pest control industry, had a lot of relationships there in New York, did a lot of consulting work as he was teaching. And so there was a strong emphasis, and that was his background. He got his PhD from Purdue and urban entomology. So that was promoted. In my sophomore year at college, I happened to take a trip to Bermuda with some friends and loved the island. Came back to school. Dr. Frischman said, "You should have told me you were going there because I could have had you visit with a pest control company,"
Oh,
and kind of laugh about it because I'm not sure that my friends would have appreciated me taking them to a pest control company, right? We were there for the beach and all of that. Um, but it started a relationship and a discussion about me going to work in Bermuda. And ultimately, that's what I did. Farmingdale was a 2-year school, graduated, looked at options of, do I go to Bermuda? Do I go to school? Applied to UGA, Cornell, and Texas A&M. So I went to UGA for two quarters while my papers processed for me to go to Bermuda. Ended up leaving in my junior year at Georgia, and went to Bermuda for what I thought was a year, kind of a non-conventional internship to work there, and ended up staying over 2 years. I went back to school, finished my degree, and there you have it. Cemented structural pest control for me once I started working in Bermuda.
what initially inspired you to go into biology?
Um, I enjoyed the science. I knew that I couldn't do medical or biology. I would actually pass out at the sight of blood from the age of 2. I
Wow,
so I mean, people
that's
say
what I
it's
was.
anxiety. I don't know. I think there's something that genetic there for me to be passing out at age 2. My sister cut herself. I remembered, and in my mind, I had it that my sister passed out and my mom corrected me that it was me and she didn't know who to go to first because I'm flat out on the floor and my sister's bleeding, right? And then through life, even as I got older, I still had that, biology class. The blood was involved. I was getting sick, getting dizzy, and having to leave class because I was not feeling well. And ultimately, I grew out of it, right? I credit pest control to some extent because I had to go into operating rooms and cadaver rooms at medical
Wow.
school, and you can't pass out, right? While you're doing pest control or there to consult. So eventually grew out of it, but from a career standpoint, there was no way I was going to be able to do medical biology. So lower organisms, plants might have been in the consideration, horticulture, but nothing like entomology, right? Nothing like that science, and I got hooked. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I was hoping you'd help me understand where I got it from. It's a bug, and
Oh, I
something
see what you
about
did there.
it.
I see what
The
you did there,
bug.
Jen.
Got the
It's
bug.
I like it. Get
It
a
never
little
gets
funny.
old.
Yeah.
So real quick, just to
So
clarify, you did pest control in Bermuda, and then you moved to Florida and worked for a company called Bermuda Pest Control.
same company. Yeah.
Oh,
After
okay,
I
all right,
graduated,
okay,
went back and
Mm.
worked for the same company.
gotcha,
Yeah, they
gotcha, gotcha,
started a
gotcha.
branch in Florida.
Okay, all
What
right.
was Bermuda like? Like, what was the town like, and your type of work there?
Beautiful, beautiful island. Very small though, and it's off the coast of North Carolina actually, so it's pretty far, about 500 miles out. Kind of on its own, right? So, and it's small. It's 22 square miles. So, you can only go so far in a day. You want to cover the island, you can do it, which is one of the negatives about Bermuda. Beautiful, beautiful island, beautiful people. Um, Business was primarily hospitality, right? Hotels, restaurants, residential. Um, and so that was my background. I did a lot of field training, smaller company, about 20 or so employees. So much of my time was in the field training versus the companies that I went to subsequently work for, bigger. Not that every day out in the field. Every day was out in the field in Bermuda, either troubleshooting or training somebody. Yeah, but
What were the
lovely,
pest
lovely
what
island.
were the pest pressures like in Bermuda? Like, what I mean, obviously different than what you ran into in Chicago, but, like, what would you see down there that you haven't seen since then?
Oh, haven't seen since then?
Yeah. Are they
Um,
pretty similar?
well, roof rats, much more. I
Yeah.
mean, we had roof rats, right? So, although you can get roof rats in the region, Midwest, it's certainly not the most prevalent of the rat species, right? So, but totally roof rats. Were the problem there. Same cockroaches. Actually, I would say less variety of pests, in part because of the isolation of that island,
Yeah.
right? Um, you didn't see as great a variety that, let's say, I would experience in Florida. Just insect in general, not just even pest pressures. Certainly roof rats, American cockroaches, Australian cockroaches were really probably more prevalent than American cockroaches.
Hmm.
And then certainly German um, in food service areas for sure.
I'm curious to know more about Dr. Frischman and how you were like what was he like? What was his presence like and what was your relationship?
Yeah. So, still talk to him to this day, right? Very influential in my life, as he was to many of his students, right? And when somebody has that passion for what they do, for the industry, for entomology, it can be contagious, right? And I think that's part of it, and not to mention how kind a person he is. He's a role model in so many different ways, not just professionally, but how he lives his life, how he treats people. So wonderful wonder. I can't say enough about Austin Frischman.
I hope he
um,
watches this.
yeah.
Neat.
So, Pat, you know, next year, early next year, is the 90th anniversary of the Purdue Pest Conference, correct? So,
Yep.
talk to us a little bit about how you got involved in that whole thing, because I know that you are heavily involved in the Purdue Pest Conference.
Yeah, so a longtime attendee of the conference, probably attended my first one in 19 I almost said 1881.
No, don't do
No,
that.
Pat.
1981. Wasn't even there then, but the no conference. But anyway, so 1981 would have been my first conference. Um didn't attend every year, and in parts, some of that was due to motherhood, right? Having children. I remember Bobby Corrigan saying one time that I was the due date was January 5th, which was right when the conference was going to be. Well, come and we'll have a room for you, and you can have the baby there, and it'll be the Purdue baby. And I was like, no, thanks,
Please tell me it was Ben.
No, it's the
Oh, I was
second
gonna that'd
son,
have been perfect if Ben
second
was born
birth.
there.
Then, yeah, I mean, he became an entomologist, right? But so long time attendee, and over the years I've spoken there I've served on the committee, and this past year they asked me to chair the committee, and so it's quite an honor to be doing that, to be asked to do that, as well as it being the 90th year to
Yeah.
be doing it. So, um, yeah, enjoy it. It's been keeping me busy this this summer, trying to nail down our agenda and get everything ready, but certainly excited for that 90th celebration in January at Purdue.
I mean, how cool is it that you you were in the industry for over 45 years? I mean, y I can't even begin to think the amount of things you've seen and what you've gotten involved with and the people you've gotten to meet just in my, I don't know, 8, 9 years in the industry. And Mike, how long have you been in the industry now?
23 years now.
Wow.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's cool.
I think one of the things I was interested to know is when you started. And this is a question I'm mostly curious to hear from you because I always am asked the question about women in the industry. And for me, I always kind of get caught up with that question because for me, I had so many women that I already saw in the industry that had already been in for their career. And so it, it was a no brainer for me that I could create something of myself. But what was it like for you?
So certainly we've seen changes, right? And when you go to industry meetings, the number of females that are in attendance, whether we talk about ESA or convention, Purdue, um, we've increased in numbers, right, and participation. There were women certainly in the industry when I first entered, but we were certainly outnumbered, right? There were far more, and it's still can be considered more male dominated industry than female. But I I sometimes say it was certainly there were advantages and disadvantages, right? I there are things that were said to me or um perhaps done to me that because I was a woman, but on the other hand, I also stood out, and I credit that to some extent I was asked to do things um and I was noticeable, right? Who
Yes.
is this woman, right? And so I mean there were pros and cons to that experience early on. And either way, I'm certainly glad to be in the industry. And yeah.
Yeah, as a technician, I remember quite a few customers that were, so happy that I was at their door,
Yeah.
which also led to a lot of, can you come back every time?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
and
think I
certainly
think
for
Pat's kinda, like,
residential.
underselling it when she says she's part of the industry. Like, let's be honest, like, Pat Huddle's a legend. I still
Yes, the
remember
industry.
last month's guest, Jeremy Southgate, and I are walking the convention floor in Boston, and you were walking there, and Jeremy was like, "Oh my god, is that Pat Hottel?" And he's like, "Can you introduce me?" And I walked over, I was like, "Hey, Pat, this is Jeremy." But, like, that will always stand out to me that, that's where you are, you know what I mean? And don't undersell that. I mean, because you belong in that conversation of people that you see, and you're like, "Oh my god, that's Pat Hottel," at least, in our industry. So, don't short sell yourself.
Well, you don't feel that way as I mean, I don't feel that way, yeah, it kind of catches me off guard sometime, um, to have people feel because I mean, I'm the same Pat Hottle, right? That was in 1980 as I am today, so
Well, it's so cool. I mean, you clearly, over 45 years, you open doors for people to make them feel comfortable in the industry. And also for your son to end up in the industry too, just shows that your passion transferred.
yeah. Pretty thrilled that Ben, became an entomologist. I sometimes joke that I felt like I have 3 sons, right? That they would all end up as engineers, which is what my husband is, and there was this tradition within his family that all of the males became engineers, so I thought, "I'm gonna be outnumbered." then to have Ben
You got one.
and become an entomologist, and then my youngest son is a horticulturist, so we're very biology oriented versus engineering, and a lot of family conversations, to the dismay of my husband and others, evolves around bugs, right? Even the horticulturist we talk about bugs. So yeah, so it's very cool to have Ben as an entomologist, and get to share that love of the science with him.
So I think probably the thing that I know you best for is the work that you've done in sort of that food production space, right? I feel like
Hmm.
that's Pat Hottle's jam. So how did that, was that just a function of being like in that Chicagoland area and there's so much of that industry there, or was it something that you were, as you got into it and started doing the work in the field, you're like, hey, I really enjoy this?
Right. So McLeod, probably, so that's the company I came to work for in 1980. McLeod was very commercial oriented. About 95%, if not more, of the business was commercial and not residential. And a big portion of that commercial business was food industry. One of the reasons that I'm sure I got hired, right, is that they felt the need for technical support. Um, and I should credit Tom McLeod, who hired me, with hiring me as a female, right? We talked about that a little bit. I was, I think, the first female technical director in the industry. I was training in technical director for Bermuda Pest Control, but for a large company, to bring me in. And so most of my experience then, once I started with McLeod, was food processing. That's the industry, the sensitivity. Certainly hospitals. I mentioned that already in my other discussion. Hospitals, they have had a mix of business, but food processing was the main component of their business. And when you think about where they're located, Chicago, for one, Midwest, multiple branches in the Midwest, there is a lot of food processing, food production, so sometimes grain bins and things like that, elevators, grain elevators, warehousing, all a big part of their business. And so develop that experience, that knowledge of food processing, and love it, enjoy it. I love the challenges. I love working with those people because um, they get the need, right, for pest management. Um, and you feel that you're contributing to food safety, which is important. I love going into different types of processing plants just from an personal interest standpoint. How are different products made, right? Food that you eat, to see it being made and understand how it's being made, is all pretty cool to me. So enjoyed food processing, pharmaceutical as well, although not as big a part of our business, but certainly pharmaceutical. Um, yeah.
What was it like for you becoming a technical manager in fumigation and learning that beast? For me, it just seems gargantuan, like the liability and all that's involved. Can you talk to us about that process?
So, as part of my duties with McLeod, we fumigate, right? So, new fumigation, new drywood termites. So that was a big part of this conversion. Once I became a fumigation technical support for Rentokil, um, I knew drywood termites, right? Because Bermuda had drywood termites, and we would tent structures for drywood termites. But that was more than 40 years ago. Although I am amazed that, to me, the fumigation for drywood termites has not changed that significantly. At least the strategy that's used, which when you think about it, and other types of pests we control, there's been major shifts and changes, right? Drywood termites, fumigation, you're tenting a structure, introducing a gas. And certainly there's been progress as far as some safety, but the basic principle hasn't changed that much. But anyway, I had to get back into drywood termites. McLeod didn't do a whole lot of subterranean termites either. So, and of course, we're not fumigating for subterranean termites, Formosan sometimes the exception there. But where was I going with this? But I had to learn or relearn termites or sharpen my termite skills because we had to train on identification, right? And we had to make sure that our sales reps and our fumigators can identify the difference, right, between subterranean termites. And this included Florida, right, where there's multiple species of subterranean. So even though I knew termites perhaps in Midwest, in Illinois, needed to relearn some of that biology and IDs of the different termites. But I knew commodity fumigation. So commodity fumigation was more of a natural fit for me because of my work at McLeod, and we offered fumigation services. Where I needed to sharpen up my skills would have been with the drywood termite component of the work.
So, Jen, I know we had chatted about this a little bit before, but hey, you're a Hall of Famer. What was that like?
What was this?
I said
So
you're a
a
Hall
Hall
of
of Famer.
Famer. What was
Oh,
that? What was that like? What like like talk us through that. I have never actually met a Hall of Famer in anything before in person, so like talk. I have no like point of reference. What was that like? What was it, like a phone call? Do you get like a gold jacket? How does this work?
gold bars. We did
Is that what
gold
it
bars.
is? Right?
Oh,
No.
that's even better.
Just a
Um,
gold plated B&G that you have somewhere, right?
Too
I
soft,
have
Mike.
to laugh a little bit about the whole process because Heather Gooch of PMP Magazine
Yeah.
contacted me, called me several times, and it happened to be a really busy month of May, and she's trying to get a hold of me. And I'm not answering her calls. And she calls Ben.
It's
And
like this
that's how I
lady.
found out that the
Oh my
Hall of
God.
Fame award. So shame on me. But I would have never thought that I would get a Hall of Fame nomination. And so I was taken back by the fact that I got the award. Really a very special honor. And thrilled to get it. And um, yeah, I overwhelmed.
Wow. And how has retirement been for you so far, Pat?
So I just reminded my husband this morning I'm not retired.
Mhm. Busier than
um,
ever?
I'm looking for those next steps of what I'm going to do. So um, I am busy with chairing a Purdue conference committee right now. I have some other volunteer work in that I'll be starting soon, and I'm actively looking to see what those next steps will be. So whether it's consulting, full-time employment, I do intend to get back into working, and so both are attractive to me, both options. Um, I think I have to rein in a little bit some of my ideas as far as what I might do if I consult, because I have a lot of ideas of what I'd like to do. Can't do it all. But it's, it's the same as when I was working full time. There's a lot of things that we would like to do, right? And so consulting may offer some additional um, opportunities to do those and direct where I want to go. But I'm actively looking for that next chapter. Happy that I was off to be a grandma, and as I mentioned earlier, I've had been able to go twice now to Atlanta, and that freedom to be able to visit that grandbaby is wonderful. So
Definitely.
Could you talk a little bit about, so Mr. Tom McLeod was involved in the original, so Copasan Technical Committee and setting that up.
mhm.
And then, of course, you were right there, correct? Not, were you there right when it started or not long after? And can you talk
Yeah,
about that
so
and how it's becomance of the Urban Pest Management Technical Committee?
yep. So CTC started in 1980, and I started with McLeod in 1980. The first meeting of CTC was in the winter. That was before I was hired. I came on in August, but I did go to the second meeting. So although I wasn't there
Oh,
for the first, I was there for the second meeting and that initial
wow.
year. And that was a wonderful organization, as is UPMTC, right? To be able to have, especially starting into the position that I had started with McLeod, I work for a fairly small company in Bermuda, a little bit different than the McLeod, right? As far as the duties, the different hats I would be wearing in a larger company, and to have the support of other entomologists, other training and technical folks, not everybody entomologists, but to have that support. They had a training, I think of folks like Bill Colby of Western and New Jersey sharing his training programs, or um, Richard Berman of Waltham, all of these companies coming together, sharing ideas. And the technical director position was relatively new, especially in the 1980s, right? So we were learning together. We were growing together, right? Sharing ideas. Do you have a training program on termites, or got this problem with a certain pest? And so we could rely on each other. It also is important from the standpoint of when you are with a company where there aren't, so at Rentokil, right, Mike, we we had lots of entomologists, right? You can share some of that. Well, you not only share your knowledge, but the sentiments, the ability to relate to others within the same role in the company. When you are a technical director on your own, in a company, you didn't necessarily, when I was with McLeod, have that same um, ability to share, and people with similar roles, right? So having that, being able to tap into that through Copasan was very important. So great group, friends to this day, people that Bill Colby, Richard Berman, Jim Sargent. We get together once a year as a group. Shep, we get together once a year still, because of those friendships that we developed in back then, right? And then through the years. So
You know what's great about that is that 30 some odd years later, Copasan Technical Committee turns into UPMTC. We are still doing the same thing today that you guys were 30 years ago. We just had a rather
mhm.
spirited debate on how to get rid of some stinging insects that were inside of a vent, right? And I think that's amazing that, that's always going to be a need, regardless of whether you work for a company where, like, I'm one of a bunch of folks in the technical department, or you work for a company where you are the technical
One of
person, right?
them.
Like, that need still exists, and I love that this group is still there to fill that need.
Yeah. And I often say that I would not be the same entomologist I am today had it not been for Copasan Technical Committee. Yeah.
Wow. So who is organizing these dinners and get-togethers, Pat?
It's
You're
me.
like, I know there's always one in the group that keeps the group together, and you have that personality.
It's
I knew
me.
you were
Yeah.
gonna say that, but I just wanted to.
Yeah. We get volunteers to host, right? Maybe a
That's
little bit
awesome.
like UPMTC or the old CTC. There's a local host. Somebody volunteers. But I pull the group and say, hey, who's gonna host and where's it gonna be? And then they're fantastic. The people that then take over and establish and host it for us. So
Oh, I love friends like you. The ones that say, "We're doing it. Here's the day."
Right.
somebody
Be
has
there.
to do it, right? So
Yes.
yeah, yeah. Well,
Pat, you mentioned, filling slots for Purdue. Like, if we need to do a Beyond the Pest live from Purdue,
ah,
Jen and I come down, we'll hook it up, we can fill some calendar space for you. Just let us know. Be happy to come out.
wonderful.
Yeah.
So
I
you're
just
you're gonna
volunteered her
come
for
to
something without even asking her. But I was just like,
you
hey, Jen, so, because there's nothing like West Lafayette, Indiana in like January, right? Like, that's, right?
so you're gonna come to
That
Purdue
sounds fun.
and we're
I'd be
we're gonna
down.
set it up.
Yeah,
Okay.
look, I feel like that's one of those bucket list places. Like when you get the opportunity to speak somewhere, right? Like convention, Pest World's one. I feel like University of Kentucky short course, any of the ESA stuff, but Purdue is right there, right? Like that's another one where regardless of, what topic it is, like to be able to say, hey, I'm speaking at Purdue this year or I'm presenting at Purdue this year. I think that's one of those things that anybody that's in our industry that does what we do is like, yeah, that's a bucket list thing. I'm putting that one on LinkedIn. So
Well, a lot of history, and I'm posting on LinkedIn post of about people that have been strong contributors to the success of the conference over the years. And it's been interesting to me because I know these people, right? Or have heard of them. JJ Davis was the first person that I wrote about who started the conference, right? And and that was in the 90 years ago, right? So the 30s. It's amazing to me the the foresight that he had, the importance that that person had in our industry, right? You hear the name Tom McLeod. We've been talking about Tom. Tom McLeod was a student at Purdue, so he used to talk about J.J. Davis, but I didn't really know um, his significant contributions to the industry. And I think, and I look at Purdue, if we didn't have a Purdue, and certainly some other university could have possibly taken on that role, but the university had such a strong role in both education of our industry and understanding the importance of, this theme comes up time after time as you look at the different individuals that I'm writing about, the importance of science to our industry, because urban was not, Dr. Frischman says he was kind of, when he was at Cornell, and when he said he was going to be in structural pest control, he was at Purdue getting his PhD. It was frowned upon. There was just not this respect of our industry that is there today, and understanding of the importance of the research, the education component of educating our industry, and certainly Purdue has taken a strong role in that, in the success of our industry and helping our industry.
What have been some of your favorite memories of being out in the field or any, like Mike and I always, we've talked about our welcome to pest control moment where you're just like new in the field and you're like, oh my God, I chose this. But I wonder if anything like that or in commodity fumigation or anything stands out to you.
So it's discovery, right? So
Yeah.
when you're out in the field and you discover something that you haven't seen before, also that opportunity to share that excitement and that passion with whoever you're working with. So whether it's a salesperson or a technician or supervisor or whoever, um, to be able to share that with somebody else. I think back to I was at a food plant in Iowa one time. Really bad problem with German cockroaches and American cockroaches at this facility. And I pick up a board and this is going to sound almost unbelievable, but it is true. I pick up a board and there's American cockroaches on one side underneath the board and German cockroaches on the other side, like lined up. I was like, this is like National Geographic moment. So those are the kind of things like, whoa, when you get those, that's that's what I excites me. Or you come face to face with a rat and you're in a tunnel in a you know, and you're looking down this tunnel in a grain unloading area, and you're face to face with rats. Those kinds of things are so cool. And then to share it with somebody else and get them excited about what they're seeing and the industry and the job that they do and the importance. I don't want to call it mentoring. It's sharing that excitement about the science and getting them excited about it and what they do and the importance of what they do.
And just observing the world around us, things that we kind of go by the wayside. Like the other day, I was in the Chick-fil-A line, waiting for my sandwich, and I look over and there's a huge spinchid moth on the side of the building, and the guy's coming out with my sandwich, and I go, wait a minute, do you mind taking a photo of that thing with me or for me? So I give him my phone, and he's like, what am I taking? Oh my God, and he brought some of the other servers. It's like that feeling never gets old.
I think that's what makes us different. 99.9% of the population sees a board covered on one side and Americans and they're in German, they drop it and they're screaming. And we're like, guys, come check this out. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's the same way. I married a nurse and you pass out in blood. We make a good team. She's terrified of bugs. I don't do like blood and guts. We make a great team. But the stuff that like she wants to show me like on Facebook, like check out this video. No, absolutely not. And vice versa. So
you haven't gotten over it, Mike?
No, I still don't like it. You know what I mean? Like the stuff that's supposed to stay on the inside should stay on the inside, Pat. I don't need to see it. Just saying. Like it's inside for a reason. I don't know. Seems like it belongs there.
It is really cool, though, that even after officially, retiring with a company, there's so much you can do. And you're not the first person I've heard say that, because our industry is just so dynamic, ever changing, and people genuinely have fun with it and love the connections that they make, that when they quote unquote retire, it's like, I'm not done yet. What am I going to do?
Yeah. There's so much more to do and see and learn, right? We're always learning. And that's the other part of the science that's so exciting, is that ability to always learn something new.
Yeah. I would say the next logical step for me would be become a master gardener and become a beekeeper.
I would like to beekeep too. Yeah. Yeah. Big commitment though.
Huge.
Yeah. So yeah.
Pat, I just want to say that one, I think this is another one we're gonna need another episode of, Jen. Like I feel like we haven't even begin to really kind of touch on stuff, but just on a personal level, you said that you're just Pat, and you just being Pat is what has made you great and what has made you such an integral part of this industry. And you said you don't want to use the word mentor, but you have mentored more people and inspired more people in this industry than I think that you will ever know, myself included in that conversation. So just thank you for everything that you have done. You have given away more to this industry than I'm sure this industry ever given back to you, and we could never properly repay you for it. But just thank you for being Pat.
Well, thank you, Mike, for the kind words. I appreciate it. And we'll get to see each other soon. I think.
Yeah, next week, right?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. Are you guys? You're not in Seattle then, or Tacoma?
No, that was this week. So I presented at the West Virginia Pest Management Association meeting this week, And I said yes to that before they scheduled this trip to Seattle, so I didn't want to back out. Plus, West Virginia, of all the places I've gotten to speak over the course of the last 8 years, West Virginia was the very first one. It was my first public speaking opportunity in this industry. It will always hold a special place in my heart, and anytime that they call and ask, I will always go back there. So,
Very nice.
Yeah.
Excellent.
cool.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I'm going to hold you to coming to Purdue.
find a spot for us. Jen, I'm sorry I volunteered you for that. I hope you're down. Like, you're somewhere that your boss is going to be like, wait, you're what? What is this? Right? We'll figure it out. But
Say, I was voluntold to do this, so
yeah,
no
exactly.
going back
Just-
now.
Exactly.
That would be so cool.
right.
So cool.
Yeah.
All
Thank
right.
you so much for talking with us.
Yeah, well, thank you. And
so
you guys are doing a
appreciate it.
great job, by the way.
Thank you.
I've enjoyed the podcast and listening to the other folks, and appreciate that you're doing this. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And on episode number 2 with Pat, we will have to deep dive more into the nitty gritty of your 45 years in the industry, because I know there's a lot in there.
Oh, we'll find it. It's like
How about I
scam.
turn the
find it.
tables and I interview one of you? I come on and I interview you.
Yeah, I mean,
Could do.
I like this side.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, we could actually maybe that's the thing, Jen, is that maybe we have Pat come on and interview us on one of these upcoming episodes.
Okay.
Yeah, all right, I'm down with
Deal.
that. All right,
All
perfect. So,
Good
awesome.
trade
Pat,
for Purdue.
thanks so much, Pat.
All
Thank
right,
you.
take
Have a great
care.
day.
Have a great weekend.
You too. Bye.
If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to check us out on YouTube on the Urban Pest Management Technical Committee page. You can also find our podcast on Apple Podcasts through the PCT podcast. Like, subscribe, share with your friends, do all that fun social media stuff.